Good morning everyone. Today we are going to discuss about conditional statements in C programming. So here conditional statements can also be referred to as decision making statements. Decision making statements in the sense we can make decisions based on a given certain condition. So based on the condition there will be a set of action to be performed if the condition is true, and there will be another set of action to be performed if the condition is false. There are basically two types of conditional statements in C programming, two basic types. First one is if statement and the other one is switch statement. So now we will go deep into what is if statement and what is if statement. If statement can be again divided into four categories. They are simple if statement, the second category is if else condition, and the third category is else if ladder, and the fourth category is nested if else. So you can see a gist of how the syntax will look like for a simple if statement. Simple if statement, you can have a condition, and if that condition is true, you have a set of action to be performed which is written inside the if body. Next category is if else. If else, you have two blocks. First one will specify the action to be performed when the condition is true, and the second one will specify the action to be performed when the condition is false. And the third category is else if ladder. Else if ladder, you have one condition. If that condition is true, you have a set of action to be performed or an action to be performed. If that condition is false, you have another condition to check, and if that second condition is true, you have another action to be performed. And if none of these conditions are true, you have an else part which will be executed by default. Next one is nested if condition. Nested if condition is nothing but one if condition which is nested inside another if condition. So here we have one condition to be checked. If this condition is true, you have one more condition to be checked. And if both the conditions are true, together, you have a set of action to be performed. If the second condition is false, you have to come to the else part of that inner if else condition and execute the action that is written inside the else part. Okay, so this will be explained in the coming slides. So these are the four categories of if condition or if statements. And we also have the switch statement under conditional statements or decision making statements. Now we will see all these four categories in detail. So the first category is if statement. So if statement in C programming, just like how I explained the conditional statements, if statement in C programming has the syntax of specifying a condition, and that condition can be an expression in terms of relational operators. So when that condition is true, okay, if the given condition is true, we will specify a set of action to be performed that has to be executed when the condition is true. And if the condition is false, we have another set of action to be performed. Okay, so we will see the syntax. So these are the four categories as I mentioned earlier. This is the syntax of simple if condition. So if is the keyword, I and F in small letters. Within bracket you have to mention the condition. As I told, the condition will be an expression in terms of relational operators, and we can open a curly brace which marks the beginning of the if block. So inside the opening curly brace and the closing curly brace, we will write down the statements, the C programming statements which will perform the action which has to be executed when the condition is true. So this is about simple if. It is simple. When the condition is true, one set of action is to be performed. And this flowchart explains how a simple if statement works. So here we start the program, and if condition, since it is a decision making, we have put it inside a diamond shape. So if condition, and a diamond shape will have two branches. One branch is true part and the other one is false part. So if the condition is true, you have the statements that are written inside the if body to be executed. So that those statements will be written inside a rectangle. Okay, and if the condition is false, if the condition is false, you will simply come out of the if body and start executing the remaining statements in the program. So those statements are represented with this rectangle box again. And then we stop the program once all the statements are executed. So this is about simple if statement. So simple if statement, we have the syntax here: if condition, if the condition is true, then we have the statements to be executed, and once the condition is false, we have nothing specific to execute. We just simply come out of the if body and start executing the remaining statements in the program. This program is a simple C program which explains a simple if condition. So here, firstly we include the header file stdio.h, then we open the main function. Inside the main function, we have declared a variable, integer variable I, and we have initialized it to 10, and then we are opening a simple if condition which checks whether that I value is greater than 15. What is the value we have given before for I? I is equal to 10. 10 greater than 15, it is a false statement, so the control will not come inside the if condition. It will simply skip the if condition and come out of the if statement, if block, and execute the remaining statements in the program. The remaining statement is I am not in if. This will be displayed onto the output screen. So that is all about simple if statement. Next category is if-else statement. So in the simple if condition, we just have only one option. If the condition is true, something to be performed. Now in the if-else statement, we have two options. If condition is true, one option. If condition is false, we have another option. So if this condition is true, we have a set of statements to be executed. That is one action to be performed, and which will be written inside the opening brace and the closing brace of the if condition. That is the if body. Okay, and if the condition is false, we simply come out of the if body. There we have the else body. In the else body, we have another set of action to be performed, which another set of statements which will be written inside the else body. Those statements will be executed. So here in if-else statement, if the condition is true, one set of action is to be performed. If the condition is false, another set of action is to be performed. So here again this flowchart explains the if-else statement. We start the program, then we check the condition. So since it is a condition or a decision making, we have put it inside a diamond box. And if the condition is true, the statements to be executed are the if body. That if body will be executed. And after executing the if body, then we come out of the if condition and execute the remaining statements in the program. If the condition is false, we come out of the if body. We do not enter the if body. We just come out of the if body, and then we have the else body there. Execute the statements of the else body, and then come out of the else body and execute the remaining statements of the program. So in this case, in this category, either the if body or the else body will be executed. So here we can see an example program, the same example which we have seen for simple if, which explains the if-else statement. Firstly, we include the header file stdio.h, open the main function, declare an integer variable I is equal to 20, we have given the initial value 20. If I is less than 15, that is the condition we have given here. The value of I is 20, 20 less than 15, it is true. So since that answer is true, if since the condition is true, the statement that is written inside the if body will be executed. The statement that is written inside the if body is printf I is smaller than 15. So on the output screen, you will get the statement displayed, that is I is smaller than 15. Okay, so here I value is 20, 20 lesser than 15 is false. So this if body will be skipped and we enter into the else body, and there what is the statement to be executed? I is greater than 15. So the output of this program will be I is greater than 15, because the value of I is 20, which is obviously greater than 15. The next category is nested if-else. So nested if-else is nothing but we have one if else condition inside another if else condition. That is, we have an outer if else as well as an inner if else. So here, if condition 1, this is a syntax of nested if else. If condition 1 is true, you have one more condition to satisfy, that is condition 2. If both are true, then you come inside the if condition, that is the inner if condition, and execute statement 1. Suppose if condition 2 is false, but condition 1 is true, then only it comes and checks condition 2. If condition 2 is false, then you come inside the else part of the inner if else and execute statement 2. If condition 1 itself is false, if condition 1 itself is false, you do not enter the outer if. Simply you come out of the outer if and execute the else part of the outer if. So this is the syntax of nested if else, and this flowchart explains how a nested if else will work. So firstly you enter into that if condition. Here you have the decision making. Condition 1 is given. If condition 1 is true, you have to check for condition 2. If condition 2 also is true, then you have the true part, that is statement 1 will be executed. Suppose if condition 2 is false, you have statement 2 to be executed. Now coming back, if condition 1 itself is false, then you have statement 3 to be executed. Okay, so after, whether it is statement 1 that is executed or statement 2 that is executed or statement 3 which is executed, finally you come out of the entire if condition, entire nested if condition, and you execute the remaining statements in the program and exit the program. So this explains how a nested if else works. And here we have a program. This is a program which determines the greatest of 3 numbers using nested if else. So here in this program, firstly we include stdio.h, which is the header file, input output header file. Inside the main function we have declared 3 integer variables, that is a, b and c. And we have to take the values of a, b and c from the user. So printf enter 3 numbers, and using scanf, which is the input function, printf is the output function and scanf is the input function. Scanf, we are going to get 3 values from the user. So all the 3 are integer values. The format string for 3 integer values will be %d. So %d we have to mention 3 times within the double quotes. Put a comma for the first value that the user will enter will be stored in the address of A. Second value the user will enter will be stored in the address of B, and the third value which the user will enter will be stored in the address of C. Now we are going to find out which of these 3 is the greatest. If A is greater than B, we cannot simply conclude that A is greater, because we have to check whether A is greater than C also. So open the if condition, open the curly braces, write one more if condition. If A is greater than C, open the curly brace again. In this, if A is greater than B and A is greater than C, we can conclude that A is the greatest of 3 numbers. So printf A is the greatest. Now suppose A greater than C is false. If this condition is false, we cannot say that A is the greatest. Instead, what we can say that C is the greatest. Okay, because here we know that A is greater than B, but A is not greater than C. Okay, so we can conclude that C is the greatest of 3 numbers. Now suppose this first condition itself is false. Then what do we understand when A is greater than B is false? We understand that B is greater than A. So if B is greater than A, then you have to check whether B is greater than C. Okay, so if this condition is true, that B greater than C is true, then you can conclude that B is the greatest of 3 numbers. Else, if this condition also is false, then you can say C is the greatest of 3 numbers. So this is the program which determines the greatest of 3 numbers. Which of the 3 is the greatest using the nested if-else condition.